Hi there guys, welcome to the first video on the Urban Surgeon YouTube channel. Sort of doing a little video on here about how I think, how my brain works while I'm doing a little cherry reduction. Sorry about the picture, the lighting was absolutely rubbish, but yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Alright guys, going to be reducing this today. I'm going to do a little 2.5 metre lift above the pathway and a 40% reduction overall. Bit of a small tree, bit of a weird one, got a bit of decay on the back, so it's going to be interesting. Might fall over while I'm in there, hopefully not. See how it goes. Just using the saw here, just to do a little bit of a lift, get rid of some of them low branches. As I said, they want a 2.5 metre lift off the pathway, and I lifted a bit around the back as well, taking out some dead here and there. It's a bit of a communal area, so we don't want people walking around getting their eyes poked out by low branches. Probably just jump in there with a silky now. Try not to take off too much because there's not a lot of tree in the first place, but it does need a lot of weight taking out. I'm just gonna go. Got our trusty groundsman Nathan on the ground there. Me and him have got good chemistry. We've worked together for quite a while now. He's also learning, so you might hear me talking to him a bit as well throughout the video. But yeah, I think having good chemistry with your groundsman is super important. If they're all like sort of not paying attention, it's just a bit dangerous. You wanna kind of be able to read each other's minds, ideally. Alright, so we got some weirdness going there. Everyone used to say take out crossing branches, but because that's already got a split and that bit there is taking the weight of the branch, I won't take that crossing bit out, or this, because it's going to hold itself up, or the whole thing's just going to snap off, isn't it? Because there's a shit ton of weight. It's thicker there than it is where it's connected. Stupid. Alright, let's get started on this bit. Sometimes you've got to leave the crosses. 40% is quite a lot. I do keep mentioning 40% throughout this video, but it doesn't actually end up being a 40% reduction, I'd say. I just sort of do what I think is going to be best for the tree. Doing massive cuts isn't always going to be the best thing for the tree, because it's going to waste all this energy trying to recover from them cuts and have less energy for repairing the damage that it's already got. And this tree already had quite a lot of damage, so I didn't want to batter it too hard and cause any more problems to the tree or any more stress. Probably don't like leaving these small growth points, but sometimes it is all you got. Try to follow the rule of thirds if you can, which I'm not doing here. And got a bit of a gap there now, so I'll drop this top in there. Probably whack a strop on. I'll free up both my hands if I've got a strop on. More hands for cutting. Right, so this one here, I can take that into a branch that's a bit thicker and then take it into the smaller growth. It's a lot of cuts which you normally want to try avoid, but in doing 40% it's a bit hard. Whoa! I thought that tree was going to fall over there. Alright, so that's a bit thicker. Nice to take into. Ideally, you want that to be a third of the size of that. It's close. As close as we're going to get, I think. Take that out. It's going to leave a bit of a gap there, but got other branches around to fill that gap in. I'm going to take that right off. It's got this little thing. Take that into that little grove. Neaten up that dodgy cut. Alright. Ignore the fact Nathan's rolling around with no helmet on. It was a Friday afternoon, so we'll let him off. It was only twigs we're cutting. If we was cutting anything bigger, I would have shouted at him, but we'll let him off this time. You have been summoned. Clean up on aisle 4, mate. So there's a few bits there which I know are sticking out of the shape, but I know I can come back with the poles, sort of fit them back in from the outside where I can see them a bit better. So I'm going to leave them for now. And maybe try getting a little top in. Normally you want to start with the top so you can get the shape, but didn't know what sort of growth I'll be working with over there, so I started with that. So this is sort of my top, and I'm probably, I mean, that's a bit too high for 40%, so annoyingly might have to take it into that tiny little growth, unless I can figure something out with these little ones here. See if that'll take my weight. Yeah, looks all good. God, that is a really ugly growth. Yeah, it's not going into that, it's going to go into this, because that's about a third of the size of that top. Good thing is about cutting the top, you're taking weight off where you're anchored into, so you can have more for lunch, because it'll take more weight. Tuck that over, try not to take off your growth points, like I nearly did. There we go. We got that in. As I say, these skinny bits, I'll be able to get a better picture from the ground of where to take them into, so I'm just going to leave them for now. But you don't want to end up poling every branch, so get the thicker bits while you're up here. It's always a good idea. Just going to make one cut here. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. Just going towards the windows. Not an ideal bit of growth to take it into, but that works for me. They want it away from the windows, so it's gonna have to be. Right, so that, it's more like this is our top. The middle of the tree somewhere over here, but might raise up a little bit again over here. Have this as the top here. I'll take that little bit out. There we go. That'll be our top in the middle of the tree. Similar height to that, but you're always going to have a flat top on a flat tree. Right, now I'm going to come around to this bit. And find the top of this one. So that kind of goes towards the top here. So I'll take that off because that sticks out the shape. That sort of matches in, maybe even gives a better top. So does this stuff here. I really don't like taking it into these little growths. So I'm gonna, but I would have to pollard it here, otherwise I'm getting an ugly cut. So I'm going to take it into that one, but this one here is going to come off. That should heal over a bit nicer. Alright, this one here, you know what, I'm going to try and get away with taking it into that. It's a nice thickness. If you don't do that, if you do rip a cut, I find the best way, push it upwards so it rips on here instead of where you've cut, and then if it hasn't cut past, just get that cut in a bit lower, and that is fucked. Don't listen to me, clearly don't know what I'm on about. I'll go lower again. I have to lose that bit of growth to the left, and that is a lot better. This one here, I'm probably gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with that first before I cut that. Maybe even get that with the poles. It's nice thin stuff, shouldn't take too long with the poles. Alright, let's venture over to this side. Again here, we've got crossing branches, but I know it's not good for the stem, but once I take a bit of weight off, hopefully it sits just off the stem, but if in future it does rub on the stem, a bit of damage to the stem is probably better for the tree than a whole limb snapping out, so I'm not going to take that out, just so it supports the branch. As I say, I'm not a teacher, this is just what I've sort of figured out myself from my experience and from what I've learned going to college, although I have forgot most of that, as I have the memory of a goldfish. Squeeze through there. Alright, so this is a really heavy reduction, 40%. So tempted, because we've got some growth here, sort of fill that out. Tempted almost just to take this all the way off. Actually, change that, scrap that. The stem's here, there's a lot of tree going that way,
if I take that right in, it's going to unbalance the tree majorly, even more than it's already unbalanced. So to be honest, I'm just going to pole that side because I don't want to take a lot off. Maybe going to cut this branch here just because the poles aren't thick enough to go through it. So give this one a little chop here and then sort of match that in somewhere around there to it. But yeah, as I say, the tree's already super unbalanced, so there's no need to unbalance it too much more. Just cutting for the sake of it. Alright, that is in there. I'll be able to pull that in and match it all up. And I think I'm gonna have to cut that one. The poles is only about that thick in the jaws, so I'm not gonna be getting through anything too big with the poles. So I've got to take that into account. Although with these smaller trees, sometimes it is nicer to do as much as you can with the poles, if you're able to get good cuts. Sometimes they leave nasty cuts, but you obviously get a better view of the tree from down there. When you're in the tree, all you see is sticks and sticks everywhere. So we can see there, got a nice bit here, which is probably more than a third of that branch. So we're going to take that right in to there, or we're going to take it one out, because that's also quite thick. Yes, we are. We're going to take it one more out than that. See, there's no correct way to do trees. I mean, there is, but it's down to the climber's preference. If you can obviously do a really bad job, but you can have two good jobs on the same tree and they look completely different. So that's going to come into that growth there, and then all of the rest of this side I'm going to try and get with the poles. Alright, so there is some crossing branches in here that aren't really doing too much, they're just sort of creating a mess. So I'm just going to go through now and sort of thin them out, sort of untangle the inside of the tree, if you like. Also, taking into account, I want to take out quite a lot of weight from this tree. As you can see down there, that stem is not looking too great. Can't throw them out, sometimes you've got to post them through. Alright, so this one here we are going to lose. It's got a bit of tension on it, so it's supporting something, but nothing too major. That branch is being supported down there, so if anything, we're just taking weight off to lift that on there to reduce rubbing against the stem, which wears away the cambium. Sort of like if you get an open wound on yourself, you don't want that. And also it's going to be hard to heal an open wound if there's something rubbing against it, keeping on wearing away at it. Right, it's looking a bit better now, a bit more decluttered in the middle, a bit more space for the tree to breathe. Right, so now we've got this sort of weird section down here. It's also low growth like that, creates a massive lever on the tree and pulls it over. Sort of, if you have weight here on your arm, it's not going to bend your elbow too much. If you put weight on the end, it's going to bend your elbow a lot more. So we are going to try and take some weight off here. Again, got crossing branches. That is supporting this same limb, which is then going over here, supporting this top, so we don't want to cause too much damage. So we'll just try to do a little cut there, just reduce the end weight off. Alright, I'll take that bit in there because we've got a nice growth to take it to. And this one here, there's already a lot of branches in this area. It's not a major branch, so we might even end up taking that off. Or we just take it right back in. Doesn't need a big top going out towards the windows. Actually, we are going to take that off. Doing a reduction isn't always about making 1,000 cuts around the outside of the tree. Sometimes it's better just to go to the middle, take some stuff out from the inside, free the tree up a bit. No one death by 1,000 cuts. Right, so I think that is pretty much all I'm going to do climbing from inside of the tree, and see what I can do from the poles, from the ground. This crosser here, it is supporting it, but that's not going to take any major weight, so we are going to take that out actually before we get down, just because it's just causing rubbing for no real reason. Alright, I'll see you on the ground.
I'm just going to speed through this part a little bit as it does get a bit boring, but it's pretty straightforward what I'm doing, just sort of cutting anything out that's poking out the shape too much, trying to follow the rule of thirds where I can. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily do as many cuts if this was a bigger tree or if it was in more of an open area, because you want trees to have that natural look. You don't want the end of every branch to be cut off, but this is the spec the customer wanted, and it's quite a small tree, so it's gonna come back pretty quickly. So yeah, just try not to do too many cuts, try follow the rule of thirds where you can, and just knock everything back into the shape.
Wait.
A good thing to do when you're poling as well, always, just take a step back every now and again, have a look at the tree, and you might be able to spot stuff that you couldn't see when you're standing right underneath it. As you can see there, I stood back and I saw loads of stuff that I've missed. So yeah, just do it in all sorts of directions as well. Don't just go to one spot. See, I step over here, step over there. Get a proper good look at the tree before you finish it.
Okay guys, so I'm pretty much done there. Don't want to make too many cuts. Pretty happy with that. It's not the best work, but as I say, they're more worried about the weight here. So kind of gone for a weight reduction, and I've gone pretty hard, but without doing death by a million cuts, leaving too many leggy bits and just a little bit of growth on the side. I like to leave, as I say, go by the rule of thirds. I like to leave some thick stuff. You see around the tree, there's not too many cuts, where it's just little dead ends everywhere. They've all sort of thin out to nice thin tips, which is kind of what I go for when I do these sorts of reductions. Normally I'd like to leave it a bit more natural and not sort of trim the end off of every branch, but I mean, I've probably gone a bit too light anyway on this tree, so I don't want to be going any lighter. But yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers for watching, guys. I will try and do some more exciting content in the future, but I've been working at an embassy all week, so wasn't really allowed to film anything there, and I've only just sort of got my camera and stuff. So yeah, like and subscribe, and there'll be much more exciting stuff to come. Thank you.